The unexpected signal. In the year 2450, humanity had come a long way. Earth's technology had advanced beyond what anyone could have imagined centuries ago. Humans had built great cities on distant planets, and their space stations floated like silent sentinels among the stars. Yet, despite all their progress, they had never made contact with another intelligent species. The galaxy was still largely unknown to them. One quiet night, a strange occurrence broke the peaceful silence of the cosmos. A signal was detected from deep space. It wasn't like anything Earth had ever heard before. The signal was filled with complex frequencies that seemed to twist and turn, impossible to decode at first. It wasn't random noise. It had a purpose. It came from far beyond the known galaxy, from a region where humans had never explored. As the signal reached Earth's monitoring stations, alarms began to ring. At first, no one could make sense of it. The patterns were too complex, too foreign. Earth's most advanced systems, capable of deciphering the most intricate data, struggled to find meaning in the strange waves. They sent the signal through every filter, but nothing could explain its source. The only thing that was clear was that it was directed at Earth. Scientists and military experts quickly gathered to discuss the strange event. This wasn't a natural occurrence. Something, or someone, was trying to communicate. But who could it be? Who could possibly know about Earth when humans had never ventured far enough to even make themselves known to other civilizations? Among the experts, there was a young scientist named Dr. Tessa Reynolds. She had been studying deep space signals for years, fascinated by the possibility of extraterrestrial life. As she stared at the data, something began to form in her mind, a connection. She wasn't sure why, but the signal seemed familiar, almost like it was waiting for a response. Then, it happened. A sudden burst of data appeared on the screen. A pattern began to emerge, and this time, it was much clearer. It was as if someone was speaking directly to Earth, sending a message to humanity. The signal wasn't just random noise. It was intelligent. It was deliberate, and it was getting stronger. The message wasn't in any known language. It was a series of beeps, clicks, and pulses, but there was a rhythm to it, a code perhaps. Dr. Reynolds was quick to bring in her team. They had to crack it. They had no time to waste. Every passing second felt like an eternity. Hours passed as the scientists worked around the clock to decipher the code. Dr. Reynolds felt a sense of urgency, a strange pull to solve the mystery. The signal wasn't just a curiosity. It felt like a warning, a call to action. The question on everyone's mind: who, or what, was sending this signal? Then, late into the night, they'd managed to make a breakthrough. The signal wasn't just a random series of numbers or words. It was a warning. The message was simple but chilling. They are coming. The words were clear now, and they sent a wave of shock through the team. Who was coming? And why was this message coming from so far away? The realization hit them hard. Earth was not alone in the universe. There were other civilizations out there, and one of them had discovered humanity. The implications of this discovery were enormous. What kind of species would send such a message? And what did it mean for Earth? Dr. Reynolds immediately contacted the highest levels of government. The message was urgent, and they needed to act fast. The world leaders were brought into the situation, and a special task force was created to handle the communication. But as the task force worked to decode more of the message, they uncovered something even more unsettling. The signal wasn't just a warning. It was an invitation. The aliens wanted something, and Earth had no idea what that something was. Was it peaceful contact, or was it something far darker? As Earth scrambled to understand the situation, the signal continued to pulse in the background, growing stronger with each passing hour. It was as if the aliens were getting closer, like a shadow moving through the vastness of space. Dr. Reynolds stared at the signal, a deep sense of dread settling in her chest. Whatever was coming, it was big, and humanity wasn't ready for it. In the coming days, the signal intensified. No one could ignore it anymore. It was impossible to deny that something was coming to Earth. The question remained, were the aliens friendly, or were they a threat? The world held its breath as humanity prepared for its first contact with the unknown. And all the while, the signal kept coming. Louder, clearer, and more urgent than ever before. Something was approaching. Something that would change everything. The monster ship was on its way. As the days passed, humanity's anticipation grew. The signal, once a mysterious echo in the vastness of space, now pulsed with an undeniable rhythm, a heartbeat that was impossible to ignore. Scientists continued to decode its contents, but every breakthrough only deepened the mystery. The message was clear. They are coming. But who was they? And why were they coming? Earth's government had already set up a global task force to manage the situation. The world was united in a shared sense of urgency, but there was a creeping fear that no one dared to voice aloud. Were these aliens hostile? Or was this their way of making contact? The scientists had managed to identify a few key pieces of the signal. It wasn't just a warning or an invitation. There was a pattern emerging, a coded language that hinted at something far greater. The signal wasn't merely an open communication. It was a directive, guiding something toward Earth. Dr. Tessa Reynolds sat in the lab, staring at the data on her screen. The signal wasn't just a message. It was a map, a blueprint of sorts, a detailed guide that seemed to point directly to Earth. She felt her heart race as the implications sank in. The aliens were coming, but why? What was waiting for them here? Then, a breakthrough. One of the junior scientists, working tirelessly through the night, had cracked part of the code. The message they had been struggling to understand now made sense. The ship will arrive. The words flashed on the screen, and a chill ran down Dr. Reynolds' spine. A ship. A massive ship. The pieces of the puzzle were finally falling into place. The signal had not only been a warning but also a beacon, guiding the alien ship toward Earth. This was no small craft. It was a monster ship, something unlike anything humanity had ever imagined. It wasn't just a spaceship. It was a weapon of unimaginable size and power. The global task force scrambled into action. Governments around the world started preparing for the worst-case scenario, but no one really knew what to expect. The first signs of the ship's arrival were already detected by the most advanced space telescopes. The ship was coming, and it was massive. It seemed to dwarf everything humanity had ever built. But it wasn't just the size of the ship that worried the task force. It was the technology. This wasn't a ship built by a race of explorers or merchants. The sheer scale of the structure, the power it must take to move such a thing across the stars, it suggested something far more dangerous. Was this a warship, a vessel of conquest? The world was left to wonder what it meant. Was Earth about to meet a new civilization, or was it about to face its greatest threat yet? As the ship drew closer, Earth's defenses were put to the test. The global space fleet, already at the highest level of readiness, began to move into position. Satellites were aligned, and weapons systems were activated. Humanity's greatest fear was slowly becoming a reality, and the world's military forces were bracing for the unknown. Meanwhile, Dr. Reynolds and her team continued their work. The signal was still coming, stronger than ever. The mysterious aliens were on their way, but there was still one question left unanswered. What did they want? Dr. Reynolds couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just coming to Earth for a peaceful meeting. There was something ominous in the signal, something that felt threatening. The words, the patterns, everything pointed to the fact that the aliens had been waiting for a long time. They had watched Earth, study humanity, and now they were ready to make their move. But what if they weren't interested in peace? What if this ship wasn't a messenger but a harbinger of destruction? The thought plagued Dr. Reynolds as she continued her work, decoding more of the signal, trying to find any clue that might tell her what was coming. The massive ship was now just days away. Earth had little time left to prepare for what was to come. Everyone held their breath, waiting for the arrival of the unknown. Would the monster ship bring destruction, or would it bring a new chapter in humanity's journey among the stars? One thing was certain: the arrival of the monster ship would change everything. The day the monster ship arrived, Earth held its collective breath. It wasn't a sudden appearance, like a comet streaking across the sky. No, the ship took its time, a slow-moving behemoth that loomed larger with every passing moment. As it neared, its size became undeniable. The entire world watched, paralyzed, as this alien vessel descended through Earth's orbit, casting a shadow over the blue planet below. Cities were quiet, the streets empty as people gathered in front of televisions, phones, and computers, desperate to get a glimpse of the alien craft. News broadcasts across the globe went into overdrive. The tension in the air was palpable, as everyone wondered whether this was a peaceful first contact or a deadly confrontation. Dr. Tessa Reynolds was in a secure facility, monitoring the final signals from the ship's approach. She had been working nonstop, trying to decode every last bit of information, hoping for any clue that would explain the intentions behind the monster ship's arrival. So far, nothing had reassured her. The signal had only grown more cryptic and ominous as it drew closer. The ship's massive size made it appear almost immovable, like a permanent fixture in the sky. It was clear this was no ordinary spacecraft. Its outer hull shimmered with an otherworldly glow, reflecting the light of Earth's sun in a way that made it look both beautiful and terrifying. As it hovered above Earth, its presence was undeniable. Nothing had ever come this close to humanity, and the world had no idea how to react. For the military, it was a race against time. The world's defenses were on full alert. Every satellite, every missile defense system was on standby. Ships in Earth's orbit were prepared for action. But what could they do against something like this? No one had any real answers. This was a ship of unknown technology, with no understanding of its weapons or capabilities. But then something strange happened. The ship didn't land, nor did it fire upon the Earth. Instead, it hovered silently, as if waiting for something. An eerie calm descended, and for a brief moment, it seemed as though the world was holding its breath. Was this just a warning, a test? Or was it something far more sinister? Then, a signal came. It wasn't like the ones they had decoded before. This one was different. It was a sharp, cold tone that reverberated through the airwaves, a sound that made every listener shiver. It wasn't a message. It was a command. "We are here," the voice crackled across every communication device on Earth. It was a voice, but not one anyone recognized. It was neither male nor female, nor did it have any specific accent. It was cold and mechanical, like the sound of a machine speaking. And yet it was unmistakably alive. The voice continued, "We come not as conquerors, but as rulers. Prepare yourselves." A cold silence followed. The words echoed through the hearts of every human who had heard them, and fear began to take root. This wasn't a peaceful arrival. This was an assertion of power. The ship had arrived to establish its dominance, to declare control over Earth and its people. The world's governments reacted immediately. The United Nations held an emergency session, with world leaders scrambling to formulate a response. Dr. Reynolds sat at her desk, her mind racing. She knew this was the moment Earth had been waiting for, and yet she felt a growing sense of dread. The message was clear. The aliens were not here for peace. They had come to claim the Earth, to assert their will over humanity. As the alien ship hovered above Earth, a strange energy seemed to pulse from it, affecting everything below. Electronics malfunctioned, power grids flickered, and even the air seemed to change, becoming thick with an otherworldly pressure. This was no ordinary alien encounter. The ship's mere presence was bending the rules of physics, making Earth feel like an unsteady place. Meanwhile, Dr. Reynolds couldn't stop thinking about the original signal. The message that had started it all. They are coming. Now they had arrived, and nothing could have prepared humanity for the magnitude of what was happening. The monster ship had entered Earth's atmosphere, and its intentions were becoming more and more apparent with each passing second. The ship continued to hover, unyielding in its position. As it loomed over Earth's surface, Dr. Reynolds understood that the world was now in a race against time. What would happen next? Would the ship's commanders land and make contact, or would they unleash destruction on the planet? As the world braced for what was to come, Dr. Reynolds worked feverishly, piecing together fragments of the signal, trying to figure out what the aliens wanted. But one thing was certain: Earth was no longer in control. Whatever the ship was, it had the power to reshape everything, and humanity had no idea what they were up against. The silence after the alien ship's arrival was almost unbearable. The entire world seemed to be holding its breath. For hours, nothing happened. No more messages, no more signs of aggression, just an eerie stillness that seemed to stretch on endlessly. People waited, staring at the sky, uncertain of what was coming next. It felt like the calm before a storm, but what kind of storm no one knew. In every corner of the world, humanity was united in uncertainty. Governments scrambled to prepare. The military was on high alert, but the question remained: how could they prepare for something so unknown, so powerful? People couldn't help but wonder if the aliens had come to destroy them, or if something worse was at play. The first real movement came in the form of a single transmission, broadcast across every form of communication. Televisions, radios, even cell phones. The voice that spoke was unmistakable. The same cold, mechanical tone that had spoken the warning before. This time, however, there was a sense of clarity. The words that followed sent a chill down the spine of anyone listening. "We are the Ascendants," the voice said. "We have watched your kind for centuries. Your species, primitive and violent, has made a name for itself across the galaxy. We have come to claim what is ours. The Earth is now under our rule. Your time as independent beings is at an end." Humanity had no response. The words hung in the air, too heavy to ignore. The world collectively froze, each person processing the reality of the situation in their own way. Some people felt a surge of fear, others anger, and a few even disbelief. Could this be real? Could an alien race, one that had traveled across the stars, really have come to enslave humanity? Dr. Tessa Reynolds, now at the heart of the global effort to understand the alien presence, felt the weight of the message deep in her bones. She had worked on deciphering signals for years, but this was unlike anything she had ever encountered. The language was advanced, yes, but the intent. This was a declaration, not a negotiation. The aliens, the Ascendants, had made it clear. They were the dominant force, and they expected nothing less than submission. There was a sudden, sharp pulse of energy from the ship that rippled across Earth's atmosphere. It was as if the ship was testing the planet, asserting its presence with a single, powerful wave. Power grids flickered and blacked out in some areas, while satellites lost their connection to Earth. For a moment, it felt like the very fabric of reality was being stretched thin. The Earth was trembling beneath the weight of the alien ship. But the message did not end there. "We have seen your wars," the voice continued, echoing through the silence, "your struggles, your failures. And yet, you have continued to survive. But survival alone is not enough. You must prove that you can stand as equals to the Ascendants. Prove that you are worthy of your existence, or you will be erased from this galaxy." A cold shiver ran down Dr. Reynolds' spine as the full meaning of those words sank in. The aliens had not come to conquer in the traditional sense. No, this was a test of humanity's worth. The Ascendants were willing to let humanity survive, but only if they could demonstrate their value. What could humanity possibly do to prove itself against such a powerful foe? In the brief silence that followed, Dr. Reynolds knew that Earth had reached a crossroads. Every nation, every leader, every individual had to make a decision. Would they accept the aliens' challenge, or would they try to fight back, even if it meant facing annihilation? The world's leaders, gathering in emergency meetings, shared the same fear and uncertainty. The message from the Ascendants was clear. Humanity had to prove itself. But how? What could humans possibly offer to such an advanced race that would make them see Earth as worthy of survival? The answers were not easy to find, and the pressure weighed heavily on every government, every scientist, every military leader. But even as doubt gripped the hearts of many, there were whispers of defiance. Small groups of humans, rebels who had never bowed to authority, began to speak up. They refused to let Earth fall to the ascendants. In secret, they began to make plans, quietly preparing to challenge the alien presence. They didn't have a clear plan, but one thing was certain: they weren't going down without a fight. Dr. Reynolds, despite the fear gnawing at her, couldn't help but wonder, could humanity really rise to the challenge? Could the Earth, with all its flaws, stand against the might of the ascendants? Or would humanity be nothing more than a brief memory, erased from the galaxy as the aliens moved on to their next conquest? The ship loomed in the sky, its cold, unblinking presence a constant reminder of the stakes. Time was running out, and humanity had to act, or risk becoming nothing more than a forgotten footnote in the vast history of the universe. As the alien ship loomed in the sky, casting a shadow over the Earth, humanity found itself standing at a precipice. Governments around the world scrambled to formulate a plan, but no one knew where to start. The ascendants had made their expectations clear. Humanity needed to prove its worth, but what could they offer? What could a species that had barely reached the stars possibly do to convince an advanced alien race that it was worthy of survival? In the heart of the global crisis, Dr. Tessa Reynolds, the brilliant scientist who had decoded the alien message, found herself at the center of the growing chaos. She sat in a crowded conference room surrounded by world leaders, military generals, and experts from every field. There was a sense of urgency in the air, but there was also an undeniable fear. No one knew how to fight something so advanced, so powerful. As the leaders of Earth debated, an unexpected voice cut through the noise. General Marcus Kane, a seasoned military officer known for his calm under pressure, spoke up. "We've been facing threats from all over our world for centuries," he said, "but this is something different. We've never dealt with a force like this before. Our weapons, our technology, they're nothing compared to the ascendants. But we're not just a species of weapons and wars. We've built something more than that. Maybe it's time we use what we have instead of what we think we need." Dr. Reynolds listened carefully, her mind racing. The ascendants had said that humanity's survival depended on proving their worth. But how? What did the aliens want? Was it a test of strength, intelligence, or something else entirely? In a moment of clarity, she realized that humanity's true strength wasn't in its weapons or technology, but in its ability to adapt, to think differently, and to work together despite differences. She stood up, cutting through the debate. "General Kane's right," she said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "It's not just about fighting back. It's about showing the ascendants who we are. We need to do more than prove we're capable of surviving. We need to prove we're worthy of the galaxy's respect. We have something they've never encountered before, our ability to work together as one species, to find solutions in the face of impossible odds. And that's something they'll never understand unless we show them." The room went silent as everyone turned to her. Dr. Reynolds felt the weight of their eyes on her, but she didn't falter. If humanity was to survive, it would need to be unified, not divided by petty politics or fear. It was time to act as one. As she spoke, a thought occurred to her. There was one more thing the ascendants hadn't anticipated: the ancient technology buried deep beneath Earth's surface. For centuries, humanity had ignored its true potential, but now it might be the key to survival. In the ancient ruins of forgotten civilizations, remnants of advanced machines, once thought to be myths, lay dormant. Machines that could change the course of humanity's fate. Dr. Reynolds knew what she had to do. She immediately proposed an alliance with the world's leaders, not just to strategize a defense, but to explore these ancient ruins and unlock the secrets of Earth's past. But she couldn't do it alone. It would take the combined efforts of every nation, every scientist, and every engineer to uncover the forgotten technologies that might turn the tide of this war. The Ascendants had come to Earth, but perhaps humanity had a secret weapon of its own. With reluctant but growing agreement from the leaders, a plan began to take shape. Teams of scientists, archaeologists, and military personnel would be deployed to various ancient sites around the world. They would search for any technology that could help humanity in this fight, and they would do so with a sense of urgency that matched the pressure of the situation. The first site that Dr. Reynolds and her team visited was deep in the desert, where ancient ruins had been uncovered. The area had once been home to a powerful civilization, but its technology had been forgotten over millennia. Yet it was clear that the structures weren't merely stone and clay. They were made of materials far beyond the scope of anything humanity had ever known. Dr. Reynolds felt a surge of hope as she examined the ruins. Perhaps this was the breakthrough humanity needed, but there was no time to waste. As they worked, news came that the Ascendants had begun deploying scouts around Earth's orbit, gathering more information about the planet's defenses. The clock was ticking. Humanity had no choice but to uncover the secrets of the past, and fast. Back at the Global Command Center, General Kane and the military leaders worked with the world's top strategists to coordinate a defense. They knew that the Ascendants would not wait forever. Their fleet, vast and intimidating, hovered above Earth, and their message had been clear. Humanity had to prove its worth or face destruction. But even as the pressure mounted, something unexpected happened. A group of rebel leaders, small pockets of resistance groups that had been scattered across the globe, reached out to Dr. Reynolds. They had been preparing for this moment for years, and they believed that the key to winning against the Ascendants lay not in conventional warfare, but in understanding the true nature of their enemies. "We've been studying the Ascendants," one of the rebels said. "They may be technologically advanced, but they are not invincible. Their arrogance and sense of superiority have blinded them. If we can turn their own strategies against them, we might stand a chance." The rebels weren't just asking for help. They were offering solutions. They had studied the Ascendants' tactics and believed that their arrogance could be exploited. The galaxy's most powerful species had underestimated humanity, and now, humanity's chance to strike back was within reach. Dr. Reynolds knew that the war for Earth was not just about weapons or strategy. It was about proving that humanity had the intelligence and resilience to stand against any force, no matter how powerful. The first step had been taken, and now, humanity had to act with everything it had. The time for hesitation was over. The future of Earth was at stake. The sun began to set over the sprawling ruins, casting a deep orange hue over the landscape. Dr. Reynolds stood on the edge of the ancient site, her eyes scanning the remains of a civilization far older than humanity itself. The wind carried a sense of urgency, as though the very Earth itself was aware of the impending danger. Time was running out, and the alien fleet remained a constant reminder of the stakes. As the teams of archaeologists, engineers, and military personnel worked tirelessly, uncovering fragments of long-forgotten technology, the discovery of a strange, glowing device brought new hope. It wasn't much to look at, just a small, intricate piece of metal, no bigger than a human hand. Yet, when Dr. Reynolds carefully examined it, she felt a sense of reverence. This was no ordinary artifact. This was a key to something far greater. The device hummed faintly, almost as if it was alive. And as the scientists studied its design, they quickly realized that it contained technology far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built. It wasn't just a weapon. It was something else entirely. It appeared to be a control mechanism, a device designed to manipulate energy on a scale never seen before. Whoever had created it had harnessed forces that even the Ascendants hadn't mastered. The implications were enormous. This was the weapon humanity had been searching for, but it wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. This was a tool that could manipulate the very fabric of reality, energy, space, and perhaps even time itself. It was the type of technology that could level the playing field, turning the tide of war in humanity's favor. As Dr. Reynolds pondered the possibilities, her mind raced. Could this device be the key to outsmarting the Ascendants? She called an emergency meeting with the global leaders and military commanders. The room was tense, every eye fixed on her as she explained the situation. The alien fleet was still circling Earth, and their ultimatum remained unchanged. Humanity had to prove itself, or it would be destroyed. But this device, she believed, could give them the upper hand. It was unlike anything the Ascendants had ever encountered. "We've spent too much time thinking in their terms," Dr. Reynolds said, her voice steady but filled with conviction. "We've been trying to fight with their weapons, using their strategies. But the truth is, the Ascendants think they know everything about us. They believe they can predict our every move. What they don't know is that we have something they can't anticipate: the ability to adapt, to think outside the box. This device, whatever it is, might be just the breakthrough we need." General Kane, standing at the back of the room, spoke up. "I'm not sure I follow. Are you suggesting we use this device against them? We don't even know how it works." Dr. Reynolds nodded. "Exactly. We don't know how it works, but that's our advantage. The Ascendants rely on their technology to control everything. They've never faced an unknown force, something they can't understand or predict. If we can figure out how to use this device, it could give us the upper hand. It's not just about fighting them head-on. It's about using their own arrogance and overconfidence against them." The room fell silent as the gravity of her words sank in. They had already seen the power of the Ascendants' technology, and the threat they posed was undeniable. But now, for the first time since the alien arrival, there was a glimmer of hope. But as they discussed their plans, a new development sent a chill down their spines. Reports began flooding in from around the world. The Ascendant fleet was moving. They were no longer waiting in orbit. They had begun their descent toward Earth. Dr. Reynolds quickly issued orders to ramp up their efforts. Teams of scientists and engineers were sent to work around the clock to decode the device's functions. If they could activate it, it could provide the edge they so desperately needed. But time was running out. As the Ascendant ships descended, casting enormous shadows over Earth's major cities, the world's military forces mobilized in a desperate attempt to defend their home. Fighters took to the skies, and defenses were readied. But the truth was clear: humanity was outmatched. The Ascendants had weapons beyond comprehension, and Earth's forces were nothing more than ants in comparison. Yet there was still something the Ascendants couldn't understand: humanity's resourcefulness and determination. Back in the underground labs where the device was being studied, Dr. Reynolds and her team worked feverishly. The ancient technology was unlike anything they had ever seen. They had managed to activate it, but the energy readings were off the charts, far beyond anything the human mind could comprehend. But one thing was certain: the device was alive, and it had the potential to change everything. The team's progress was slow, but they were getting closer. The device seemed to respond to their thoughts, almost as if it was communicating with them on a deeper level. The more they learned about it, the more they realized that it wasn't just a weapon. It was a key, a gateway to understanding something much larger, something that could reshape the very nature of the conflict between humanity and the Ascendants. As the alien fleet continued its descent, the world held its breath. Would humanity be able to unlock the secrets of the device in time? Would this unlikely weapon be the key to Earth's survival? The pressure mounted with every passing minute, but there was no turning back now. Humanity's future rested on their ability to adapt, to think differently, and to wield the power that had been hidden away for millennia. The clock was ticking, and the galaxy was watching. The sky above Earth darkened as on the ground, military forces and civilians watched in awe as the tide of battle shifted. The Ascendants were no longer the unstoppable force they had once been. The device had given humanity the edge they needed, a weapon that the Ascendants couldn't comprehend or counter. It wasn't just a physical shield, it was a force of nature, a force that bent the very laws of physics to humanity's will. Dr. Reynolds and her team watched as the energy field grew stronger, its power radiating outward like a beacon of hope. The device had become the ultimate weapon, and humanity was finally able to stand toe-to-toe with the alien invaders. The Ascendants, realizing that their weapons were useless against this newfound power, began to retreat. They had come to Earth expecting an easy conquest, but instead they had found a world that would fight back. But Dr. Reynolds knew that the battle was far from over. The Ascendants might have retreated for now, but they would return, stronger, more determined. And when they did, humanity would be ready. The device had given them a glimpse of their true potential, and they would use it to prepare for whatever challenges lay ahead. The fight for Earth was not over, but humanity had proven something vital. They would never give up. They would never surrender. As the alien fleet retreated into the depths of space, humanity stood victorious. For now, the device had saved them, but it had also opened a door to something much larger, something that could change the course of history. The universe had witnessed humanity's resolve, and it would never be the same again. The future of humanity was uncertain, but one thing was clear: Earth was no longer a place to be underestimated. The fight for survival had just begun, and the galaxy was about to learn that humanity's true power was not in its weapons, but in its ability to adapt, to evolve, and to fight with every ounce of strength it had.